My name is Rebecca, and today we're going to be talking a little bit about grammar, about how to use the future tense in conversation. Now, many of you who are advanced ESL students may already know this, or you may still be surprised to hear that there is a slight difference in how we can express things in the future, especially in conversation. All right? So, what matters when we're talking about the future tense is whether the activity we are talking about is something planned or something unplanned. What do I mean by that? By a planned activity in the future, I mean something like traveling abroad. If you were going to be flying abroad, you would need to book your ticket, pack your suitcases, and do a number of things to plan for that event. So that's an example, traveling, of something that you need to plan in advance, but you're going to do it in the future. Another example of something planned in the future is an appointment to see the doctor. You would need to call him and make this appointment in order to go and see him in the future. All right? So this is an example of planned. I'll talk about unplanned in a few moments. Let's start now with the two different ways in which you can talk about planned activities in the future. One is by using the expression going to. You simply say, I'm going to, plus the verb. In this case, I'm going to visit John on Saturday. All right? Or I'm going to meet Mary at 5 o'clock. This is a way to indicate that the action will happen a little bit later in the future. That later could be 5 minutes later, 5 hours later, 5 days later, or 5 years later. It really doesn't matter in English as long as it's in the future, and the future means any time after this present moment. Okay? All right. The second way to speak about planned activities in the future is by using the present continuous. Now, I know you're going to wonder why the present continuous. Till now, you probably learned that the present continuous, for example, saying I'm visiting, indicates something that's happening now, or something that's temporary. However, you can also use the present continuous to talk about the future as long as you add some period of time in the future to indicate exactly when that activity will happen. Let me give you an example. If we use the same example of visiting John here, but with the present continuous, we would simply say, I'm visiting John on Sunday. If I say I'm visiting John without saying Sunday, then you simply are talking about right now. You're talking about the present. But as soon as I say Sunday, and today's Friday, and Sunday is ahead in the future, then you know that I'm talking about the future. And this is the second way that I can talk about a planned activity in the future. Again, to review, you could say, I'm going to visit my mother on Friday, or I'm visiting my mother on Friday. I'm going to play tennis on Thursday, or I'm playing tennis on Thursday. Again, these are activities that you have planned in advance. All right? Let's go now to the second side, which is for the unplanned activities. What do I mean by an unplanned activity? It means something that you decide at this moment, spontaneously, or because you have learned some information right now, to do something in the future. For example, suppose I'm speaking to Mary on the phone, and we are talking, and then suddenly my boss enters the room and tells me that he needs to speak to me urgently. So I tell Mary, Mary, I'll call you back. I need to go and speak to my boss. I'll call you back. I'll is a contraction of I will and indicates an activity in the future. But in this case, I made that decision to call Mary back at this very moment. It was not something that I had planned in advance. It was something that happened at this very moment, and because of that, I decided to do it. In that case, when we're speaking, we use will, Of course, when we're speaking, we usually speak a little more informally, and so we use contractions such as I'll call you back, we'll see you later, and so on. But they are contractions of I and will. All right? Now, it's possible that you could use both this and this in one sentence. How? Well, if somebody asks you what you're going to do on the weekend, there may be some things you plan to do, and you know for sure, and there may be other things which you're not sure about, which may happen. These are certain, these are uncertain. So you could say, well, what am I doing this weekend? I'm going to visit my mother. This is planned. I'm going to have lunch with her. Let's say this is planned. And then maybe I'll go to a movie. Or maybe I'll go home and study. So here you see, in the same example, how we have moved from something planned to something unplanned, even in the same sentence. Again, this holds true when we're talking about conversational English. Usually, when we're talking about business English, or about something that's in writing, it's a little more formal, and therefore we don't find going to and present continuous used for the future, even when activities are planned. For example, if ABC company announces that it's going to have a new branch or a new factory, it's going to open a new factory in Japan, the announcement in the newspaper will usually read, ABC company will open a new factory in Japan in March. Not is going to open, but will open. Why? Simply because this is more formal, this is more businesslike, and so we tend to use will when it's more businesslike and more formal. And we tend to use will when we're talking about something that's in writing versus something in conversation. If I was just telling you about this, I might tell you that ABC company is going to open a new factory in Japan. But if you see it in writing, it will probably read the other way. Okay? I hope I've managed to make that clear to you, and good luck with your English. Bye.